Um, in Sierra Leone growing up, when I was younger, I mean, to be honest with you, my influences were predominantly Western cultures, but growing up, as far as musical influences from Sierra Leone, I'd be lying if I said I can put a finger on any one of them, because my parents listened to a wide range of music. You know what I mean? It was very westernized, but in Africa, Kanda Bongo Man is the first person that comes to mind. He's not Sierra Leonean, he's Congolese, I believe, because later on, when I was in England, I got the chance to meet him because my dad was trying to do something to take him to Sierra Leone, but that never materialized. However, Kanda Bongo Man is an African influence that really comes to mind when I was growing up in Sierra Leone, because his music. And Lucky Dube, do you know what I mean? Lucky Dube is another African musician, South African, and may his soul rest in peace. Tragic accident happened to him back a couple of years back. But the point I'm trying to make is the Sierra Leoneans, comedians come to mind more as far as the entertaining, like Sarah the Great, Van Boy, do you know what I mean? There was a comedy show called One Pot, and every kid, I promise you, every kid, especially if you were over 25, will have had some sort of impersonation of this character, Sarah the Great, Van Boy, and they were, wow, they were the least hilarious. They were something else. They were national heroes. So for entertainment-wise, it was probably the comedic side of things that I can remember entertainers and people from Sierra Leone more of. And when I went back in 2007 to 2009, you know, that's when I heard of people like Emerson. Do you know what I mean? And Emerson now, me and him have similarities in that regard, because I found out he was a chorister. He was in the choir. As myself, I came up from the chorister, do you know what I mean? The chorister's background. I was in a church choir, Chapel of Grace, back in West Yorkshire, Leeds and Bradford. And that's as far as the similarities and being Sierra Leonean and being able to actually sing and not this auto-tuned artist, you know what I mean? And another artist that I really related to between 2007 to 2009 was this guy called Alonzo. Now him I took more to because his music is just vibing, man. Like, I heard Alonzo's music, and even now I remember it. I they go look for me, angel. Na 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 na. This girl was signing up, now ain't not me, angel. Yeah, you know what I mean? When I heard his song, I was like, yo, I had his tunes on repeat. But more so, I believe the reason why there aren't so much Sierra Leonean artists within my genre or my artistry, as far as actual singing is concerned, is because probably the popularity of these artists weren't so prominent. But I certainly heard of Cal Dinero, do you know what I mean, and Camouflage and people like that, because between 2007 to 2009, while I was out there, they were doing their thing, and I'm sure they're still doing their thing. And I hope these guys could do a lot more, because regardless of whatever section or faction of the city and who you're repping, whatever, it looks good for Sierra Leonean music. I want us to be included in the conversation when you say West African music, because we're definitely present, do you know what I mean? And I want us to be able to be there and be mentioned when you say West African musicians, do you know what I mean? And Nene Cherry, back in the day, I mean, this is before my time, you hear of and you hear hints of her being Sierra Leonean and say, oh, she's waving the flag, Sierra Leone. But like I was saying, the entertainment, and as far as the entertainment side influences, the comedians they're more prominent in my head. And even up to recent, anybody who's doing something for Sierra Leone, for example, Atuga, he was a footballer, the goalie for the national team, or Junior Tumbu. These are people who are on non-music related influences on me as a child growing up. National heroes, not just for myself, but I believe these are people that certainly other Sierra Leoneans will be like, oh yeah, do you know what I mean? And I wish like more could be coming into my head now, but you hear jokes and funny things about Victor Foe and all political characters. You know, what I mean, the funny story about Victor Foe and how he got his name into power. I won't mention it on camera, but he was part of the other side of Sierra Leone. Like, if you were corrupt, you won't be as corrupt as Victor Foe. Do you know what I mean? Them kind of things, or Fode Sanko, you know, the more darker side of Sierra Leone's history, or Shiaka Stevens, you know what I mean, or Captain Ben Nash, sorry. He was a good family friend to my parents, so, you know, old influences and people and stuff like that were majority non-music related. But going forward, people like DJ Enzo from AYV TV, Harai Bangura, the presenter. I mean, I made acquaintance with her between 2007 and 2009 while I was out there, do you know what I mean? And fast track, couple of years down the line, they've actually gone and done their things, got involved in things and places and industry that I'm working in as well. So, you know what I mean? And promoter Benson Sharif, do you know what I mean? Although he's my guy, but he's still doing his stuff and is getting notoriety, like, and earning his way through, you know, the entertainment industry. And social media wise, DJ Umu, do you know what I mean? She's all the way out in America and we've never made any sort of interaction and stuff like that. But, you know, as I've started to connect with other Sierra Leoneans on social media, because for a lot of time I didn't connect with Sierra Leoneans a lot of time. I just didn't know there were platforms and things. I wasn't aware till. I'm a late bloomer on Instagram, to be honest with you. And I'm still getting my head around the whole social media thing, because I'm a very, leave the Instagram, leave the everything, and let's be real about what we're doing out here. Some things don't need to be out here about. So coming across these people and like DJ Umu that I mentioned, her Kushe Sundays, that was what I was hashtagging Kushe on something I did on Instagram, and her name popped up somewhere and I started, and I was like, oh, right, okay. And then she's got a show called Kushe Sundays. I was like, it'd be cool to interact with this woman, and I seen that she plays a lot of Sierra Leonean music and stuff. I was like, this is really good, because it made me feel good that somebody else is on that mission to put Sierra Leone on the map in a positive way. Because God knows, man, our poor little country, we're rich in everything, but, you know what I mean, the world looks at us like, nah. And it's really not the case, do you know what I mean? It's just, God willing, going forward, we'll get better exposure, and I want to be part of that positive change. And when I see other people who are repping Sierra Leone proudly, like this other woman on Instagram, the Bleaching Queen, or the Bleach Queen, she's a comedian, hilarious, man. Like, you know, when I see people like that repping Sierra Leone and proudly as well, and I see that flag, do you know what I mean? And in their bios, it just, you're getting a follow, man, just because, like, and 9 out of 10 times, like I said before, the energy and vibe from the fabric of the community is so a party, it's love, and it's love reciprocated. And so I'm just like, yeah, man, I like this. It gets me gassed. Actually, my experiences and expectations of being in England for the first time, so my reality of coming into England for the first time compared to the expectations were similar and different in more ways than one. First of all, my expectations now in Europe, or traveling, or getting on a plane, you know what I mean? These were new experiences to me. But as far as being in England, it was a new experience for me. And admittedly, my father did more of the traveling out of the family for us, but it was business trips here, there, everywhere. So he always came back and he tried his best to make us feel included. So from clothes to gadgets to souvenirs, you name it, we had it. Do you know what I mean? When things were coming out in England, if he was traveling, we'd get it on his return. Clothes, even to the extent I remember my sisters having Malaysian style dresses when he went traveled to Malaysia and saw the joining towers and stuff. So when he comes to England, me personally, I wasn't fussed. I had an idea of England being nice, and the way it was depicted in films and the way it was depicted in just social settings, it had this whole glamorized look like, oh, we're going to England, oh my God, pop. Do you know what I mean? But for me, as a kid, I just wanted things to remain the same just because I was comfortable with home. Do you know what I mean? I was a very content child. I wasn't really about trying to have this, trying to have that. I loved the outdoors. I loved playing out. So for me, it wasn't so much my expectations. Actually, tell a lie, it was more like electricity. In Sierra Leone, the National Power Authority, NPA, they didn't always have light to give for various reasons. And I looked forward to that because I had so much ideas of doing this, doing that, and sometimes I'll sit with my dad and, I want to do this, and it's like, yeah, but you need light for this, you need light for that. But we've got a generator, but you need this amount of, and I knew about the current flow and energies that we needed to supply and do certain things way before I got to know how electricity worked to that extent. And I saw England as, whoa, that's the perfect opportunity to really get to grips with all of these ideas that I've got in my head and do that. So that was my expectations of England. And then my sister, though, this was hilarious. My eldest sister, she was like, oh my God, we're going to England. 7 steps from heaven. I remember her clearly saying this, and she was saying to her friends, yeah, we're going to, because they were all in the teenage ages. So, you know, they're flossing, they're flexing and going to parties and shit. And me, I was just, okay, that's what's happening. Let's go with it. And then my other sister, my eldest sister, she didn't think there was anything such as dog poo on the streets of England. Yeah, so that was a reality shock for her. And I remember part of this story because the first day we got to England, and in our dashikis, you know, African attires, or our clothes that represented our culture, which is our Sierra Leonean outfits and stuff like that. It's different to what you guys would wear here, purely based on the weather and structures of how things are, do you know what I mean? So it wasn't anything different, it's just clothes that people wear from West Africa or from Africa, do you get what I'm saying? Anyways, we're all dressed in our attires, come from Heathrow Airport, jumped on the plane, again met by my uncle, my Uncle David, who, when my dad and my mum was there, my sisters were there, we're all traveling through now. And we get on the train from Heathrow to and we get on the main and get onto the tube. Anyways, we ended up at Edgware Road, where we were stopping in the meantime because we're going to my auntie's at the time, stop off before we dispatch to wherever we're going to. And we got off the tube because her house was just round the corner, and this was hilarious. We're walking along happily, you know, got suitcases pulling along, and my sister goes, "Dad, look, there's dog poo on the floor." Everybody was like, what? There's dog poo on the floor. I'm like, and my dad's like, yes, I know, Paulina, come on. She's like, no, but this is England. And my dad's like, yeah, but to her, that was a shock. So that gives you a clear idea of what her expectations of England was like compared to what her reality was like. And I was just, at the time, that didn't register as something hilarious. I was like, okay, there's dog poo on the floor. Like you ain't seen dog poo before. Keep it moving. And it's only as I've grown up, I was like, actually, I remember this. And I always wind her up about it. She's like, shut up. But like, yeah, that's an experience in itself. From London, we were, because in general, we ended up coming to England under the banner of political refugees, from affiliations from a family of some kind to another. And that's a different story entirely. But yeah, so we ended up having a handler out here in England. So I remember moving to Vauxhall around November. And because of the civil unrest that we had actually experienced, it was a bit traumatic for my parents, who, I won't say much so me. I experienced some things, but I was also sheltered from a lot of things. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, November 5th, yeah, bonfire night, yeah. We're in flats at Vauxhall, and we start hearing these fireworks go off. My mom loses it. She's like, "Oh my God, we've come from one war into another. What's going on?" And I'm like, "But Mom, look, there's things in the air." And she's like, "Oh, and it's fireworks." That's a funny story. So our handler was like, "You can be going to school here, the Vauxhall Primary School. You could be going to school here, and from there, you can then decide whether you want to stay in London, raise your kids in London, or move to a more child-friendly." That's what they described up north as. The handler was like, "It's a better place to raise your children than it was down south at the time." And I was like, obviously I didn't understand no better, but these are discussions that I'm overhearing, and my mom's trying to explain to me that it'd be better for us to be out here rather than in London, and you know, and for us, for some reason, I can remember something about not bumping into people who may have ill intention for us. I didn't get that. I didn't understand that. So moving to Sheffield for me was almost a no-brainer, because it was just, this is what we're doing. Go ahead with it. Okay, I'm happy with it. And we moved to Sheffield. Chesterfield Road was our first. It was where our first address was at. Then then back onto London Road, 44 London Road, then Fieldhead Road, and this is all within the year of us moving to Sheffield. From there, we went to our auntie again, who lives in Edgware Road, and upon the return after the summer holidays, you know, schools have been acquired for us for the start of the new academic year, which was for me year 7, and also, yeah, for my sisters and everything. And All Saints was a school, because I come from a Catholic background, so churches were found for us. So Mother of God on London Road, Aberdale Road, you know, Father Kilgannon was the priest there. And yeah, we just settled in nicely. And from year 7 onwards, I lived in Netherthorpe, which is between Broomhall and Pittsmore, just in that pocket there, Netherthorpe, Upperthorpe. And life continued, you know what I mean? But Dad wasn't always around, because he was he's a businessman always in Africa, as most African parents now. And it's a running joke now, actually. Where's your dad? Oh, he's out on business in Africa. Like, I went to a comedy show, Jamaica versus Africa, Wahala Comedy Clash, and that was one of the jokes that they were using just for Africans. You know, when they make the joke of Jamaican fathers not being present, they're like, "Oh, Africans, you're not no different. Your dad's just always on business." So yeah, that was that. My dad tried his best to be available every summer till man grew up a bit and did my own thing, really. So yeah, that was that. And Sheffield, to be honest, when we moved here, it felt like we were because we didn't know where the black community was particularly, but one of the places that we ended up connecting with actual family was Sadaka. Sadaka was, "Oh my God, you're here? Yes, long lost cousins of my mom, long lost cousins of my dad. Do you know what I mean? And got in touch with family members and made acquaintances again and moved forward. But Sadaka was a hub for us every Sunday. Brother George and his knuckle and his ruler and punishment for not listening in class, do things like this, beat you. Sheffield was accommodating, definitely. As an African coming into England and settling in Sheffield, every place has its ups and downs. Have I experienced racism to a degree of disgust? No. I didn't realize at the time, to say the least. Do you get what I'm saying? As I've grown older and I've assessed things or memories of things that come up, like, wow, they were blatantly just taking the piss out of man then, but it wasn't apparent, do you know what I mean? So, and it's been good, man. I can't really fault Sheffield. Sheffield really has been a home for man, you know what I mean? That's why in my music now, it's part of my identity now, do you know what I mean? Not that from Sheffield, but Sheffield is my home. So I want to rep Sheffield as much as I rep Sierra Leone, do you know what I mean? Because good or bad, Sheffield's still a place that's homely, it's welcoming, do you know what I mean? It's everything, do you know what I mean? Everything I know now, good and bad, I've learned while being in Sheffield, while growing up in Sheffield, do you know what I mean? Experiences of love, candor, streets, whatever you want to call it, man. Sheffield's been good, so peace.